right, this is a very critical week for our evaluations of the 2023 Miami Dolphins, in my opinion. I think what we saw before is one thing. It's valuable, but not nearly as valuable what we're going to see here. And then next week, I think it's going to be a little bit less valuable. I think what we got right here is critical areas of information. I think the practices are going to give us some stuff. But it's the preseason game where I think we will be able to get some real serious cues because we're going to get the starters, and that's going to hint at a lot of things. Now, nothing is written in stone or permanent marker, but I do believe the value of what we see this week is going to be pretty good and higher than what we've seen before and after. So I'm going to go over today's practice, day one. I think a bunch of good, interesting news came out. So I'm going to cover it all. Obviously, Wilkins with the hold-in. That's the news, big, clear news that came out. So I'm going to cover that. Injuries to the secondary. O-line news. Got some film that snuck out into the ethosphere of the Twitter world. And I got some film to go over. I'm going to go over that. I can't resist that. And then some stuff about Phillips and the edges. Tua, and then so there'll be some new notes sprinkled in. I have planned to put them at the end, but, they'll fire off here and there. So that's generally the gist of what I want to cover today. And I do believe that, we're going to get some good intel. And I am very excited for this week. And there's been really some good coverage. And I want to, give thanks to all the people that are actually at these practices that are giving us the bird's eye view or worm's eye view, depending on where they're at, of what's going on. Because, we're all just kind of rabid Dolphin fans, I suppose, and anything we can get is great. So I want to thank everybody who's giving us this information. So Wilkins hold in. Now, I said my belief is, if you know Wilkins, he's a cheap guy, came up poor, and he's not out to go blow his money. He understands value. He's a very mature guy, very family-oriented guy, and he wants to get his money, and he's played to get good money, and the Dolphins are kind of shooting low. And he's saying, I'm willing to roll the dice and get that money up and force you to tag me, and then I'll do it again, and then I'll be a free agent and get the big money. And every time another guy gets a big contract, it raises his value if he keeps playing the way he is. And now he's got the hold in. He had the little thing before. And so he's just saying, hey, look, I'm serious. I'm going to go this road, and what you're doing here is going to kind of maybe even alter negotiations down the road. He will show he's going to be here come week one because he wants to put the tape out. And he's a team guy, but he's trying to earn his money I think he deserves. And so it will be very interesting to see how long he extends this holding. It will be very interesting to see, can the Dolphins create space to get him before the season starts? Because if not, I think it's going to be $21 million for 1 year next year. And then I don't think we're going to be able to hold on to him. But maybe. We'll see. It's a long way from here to there. So I don't think it's a big deal, but it's creating a tension now on the contracts. So then we've got Eli Apple. I've been covering the secondary. There's been injuries to the secondary. We now know Kohu's got something. I don't know what. You got Kohu. You got Needham, who hasn't really done much. He's coming off the IR. You got Smith with the shoulder. He was in the red jersey, but his shoulders, they're notorious because if you notice what he does is with that agility, that leaping and trying to get that ball, deflect that ball, that puts your shoulder in compromising places. And that's sometimes why guys don't do that. And then also there's the hit. You got the arm extended. If there's a weakness in that tendon or some kind of damage, it really can aggravate it. As a corner, you need full range of motion, and you need to be able to get in there and stick the nose in it with that shoulder. And so this is a curious thing how it'll play out. And then obviously we got Ramsey, who's going to be out, some say December, some say November. So there's a gash on this, what was pretty decent depth group. Now, I got my old man, Rocky over here, who's afraid of the storms, and the storm's coming. So if you hear some groaning, it's my poor old guy getting nervous. So I just want to give you a heads up. I can't kick him out. I love him too much. So you're gonna have to go through with his groaning if you can hear it. So anyway, this secondary was pretty deep, but now there's some rash of injuries. Nothing too terrible, except for the Ramsey thing. And I do think Noah's going to get a shot at a real redemption story. And I love redemption stories. I think that's what life's all about. I am in my own personal redemption story to try to be a better person than I used to be. And so I always have a soft spot, whoever they are. They could be the worst guy in the world, and they try to turn the feather, turn the leaf and go in a different direction. I can't help but have my heartstrings pulled. Now, Noah is not a bad guy. He's a great kid, great family, but he's kind of sucked on the field and struggled and underperformed. But he is getting in line. He's had his picks. I thought his tape was pretty good, and he is in position to do something that would be a wonderful feeling for everybody. All Dolphin fans, even if you don't like that, and he starts to playing well, you're like, oh, that's great. That's great news. So, but I have kind of undercut Eli Apple. And George Fernandez put a comment up. He's like, how about Apple? And I'm like, yeah, look, my evaluations, I think I'm pretty patient with them. And I try to be non-prejudicial. But Apple kind of has gotten on my nerves over the years. I think he's a solid backup, but I never really consider him as a starter. But I think that was a fair evaluation and a fair point. And I want to put that out there. I got to really reassess. And Apple is a fair player to come in there and start in case Noah doesn't do it. And Eli can in small spots. I just don't like his consistency, and obviously don't want to see it long term. But it's a long way from here to there. We got Kohu, who I think will be back. Smith at some point in the short term. And then we got Apple and Noah. So it will be very interesting to see. Now, we had 2 red zone touchdowns. Red zone looked pretty good, but it was through the passing game. We also had a pick. I don't know if it was in red zone. Maybe it was 2 picks today. There was 1 big pick to end the practice. But we saw a little uplifting of the red zone, but it was through the pass game. And I like to see that. We scored lots of points last night. I think it was 8th or something. We were really high in points scored in the red zone. But we didn't get any running touchdowns, red zone touchdowns. And to me, that is critical. I'm very happy to see a little improvement in the red zone. But those red zone touchdowns, when a DC or the players through the course of a game or in preparing during a week see red zone touchdowns on the ground, that creates serious trepidation when you have the ability to pass, and it opens up the pass. And so I'm really looking to see some red zone touchdowns, but overall, little turn up in this red zone situation. Now, Alan Poupart, you can see the tweet here. Teron Armstead says it's time to ramp up his work in practice. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Well, I'm telling you, when you see my man Teron get in there, it's going to change things. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. And I am so looking forward to the return of Teron. It is, it's like putting, plastic surgery on a crack whore. Teron is such a great player and will change everything. I'm so interested to see him. I want to be protected, but I am so interested to see him step in there and see how things change. A little bit of the narrative from last year to this year has elevated the value of Teron. It was like, yeah, he's valuable, but it's starting to percolate and become, a little bit more talk around his value, and it's tremendous. Now, not that I don't like Cotton. I think Cotton is a good guy. He seems like a nice kid. He does have some talent, but starting at left guard is not my evaluation. But I don't really defer to many people in this universe, except for my wife and the guy upstairs. But Tehran's in that line. And so Omar Kelly's got this thing here. Lester is extremely strong, road grader, smart. Isaiah is a road grader, finisher, and tough. And tough. Tehran said of his LG contenders. Now, so basically, I don't like Isaiah Wynn at left guard, and I don't like Lester Cotton at left guard. I like Lester Cotton's movement skills and his technique. And we got some film that I'm going to show here. But I think for a guy who's 334, he looks doughy and soft. I don't think he has power. I don't see him as extremely strong or a road grader. I do think he's smart, though. But my man Tehran says he is, so I'm going to say he is, too. And Isaiah, road grader, finisher, and tough. I'm in a little disagreement on some of that, but Tehran's smarter than me, prettier than me, and he knows more about football than me. So we'll leave that Tehran evaluation and see how it goes. But I'm going to have to give it my own evaluation as we go over this film. So let's take a look at this film. We'll see Hunt, Cotton, and Connor, all three going one-on-one. I could go on for a real long time on this. I'm not going to, but I'm going to try to pull out some quick, easy stuff as we go over the film that will help us give us some indications of some things. And I thought this was very good. Poupard had his evaluation. Tehran's got his evaluation. I've got my evaluation. Really, what I believe is you need an eclectic grouping of evaluations in order to try to get the right evaluation. Because even if it's the wrong evaluation, it allows you to consider something then which inside your purview, your framework of what you see. And that consideration can either clarify or alter your evaluations. And so I find that extraordinarily valuable. And so this, I'm just throwing my evaluation in the hat. You'll have the film to do your thing. Savvy? Anyway, so this will be, I don't know who it is, but it's going against Hunt. And I don't know if this guy's watched some tape, but watch, he gets into Hunt right here, and Hunt gets driven back, but he holds his ground. But he gets a little bit of lean, and then he gets off balance a little bit and then beat on that second move. And that would have been problems for the quarterback. And this is something that Hunt has a little problem on, that second move to the outside. So I don't know if this guy was watching tape or not. But Hunt's still a great player. It's just something for you to see. Remember when you see when you watch the games for processing his play. Now, this will be Connor versus somebody else. And we'll see something here, too, that I think is valuable in some of the things that I've been saying. And so he's got a guy playing outside technique. It's a one tech, comes into him, gets the elbow down, and then drives him off. But then Connor finishes him with some nice balance. But you could see the guy who's supposed to be the quarterback would have had problems at the knees. And this is why I don't like Connor at left guard or guard, because he does suffer from power. Power gets into him. But I'll talk a little bit more after this tape. Now, this is Cotton, and he's going against Malik Collins, and I'll talk about Malik Collins in a second. Another one technique from the angle I see. He gets into Cotton and drives him. Now, you could see Collins is 24 pounds heavier and bigger, and he gets shuttered and driven back. But what I like here is his ability to drop his weight, keep his hands locked inside, but he continues to get beat. But that was a solid recovery for Cotton. But he was going against a guy that is a little bit shorter, lighter, and his ability to deal with power was compromised in the early goings. And, that's what I say about him. If you look at him, he's got a big lower body, but his upper body is kind of smallish for his size. When you compare his upper body next to Jones, you can see Jones is built like a brick house, and his thighs actually have the bowing to it because there's muscle. Now, Cotton is more movable, and I like his smarts, and this is where I totally agree. I always agree with Tehran, but in this part I agree more than usual. Is his ability to stay calm after he was beat. Guys, when you get that hit and you get shuttered and you're in the air, all of a sudden the nerves kick off. And what do you do after that? He was able to drop himself, get the butt down, bow to back, keep the hands locked, and then plant. Now, he still got pushed back, and that's a sign that that 334 isn't the 334 that you necessarily want. But I do like what I'm seeing from Cotton. I just am concerned that Malik Collins is only at 118 reps in his 6-year career. And so he's been successful in very small duties, but he is not a top guy that you're going to be going against. And so this was a nice rep in recovery, but it wasn't a win from the beginning. And I'm concerned as the talent level rises, the power rises, that Cotton will be more exposed. Because if you look at last year in the playoff game, I think he had like 6 pressures. I think it was like a sack, and it wasn't a good game. My memory's lost. The gears are spinning a little bit. So overall, I think Cotton shows something, but if he was a 9th guy, maybe I'd be more into it. But as a starter, it's concerning. But that's my take. Now, you can see here Omar Kelly. I don't know if I'll put it up, but I'll read it. The Dolphins will be limiting Liam Eichenberg's participation in team periods during joint practices because of an injury he's nursing. Has this been impacting his performance? And yeah, I personally think that no matter what, Eichenberg is on the roster. I don't see him getting cut. I think Greer's a guy, for whatever you think, good or bad, he's going to ride this guy. He's got a 2nd and 3rd invested in him. I don't see him cutting him. But this injury thing could be the grease that, slides the wheels of him staying on the roster. Well, if he wasn't injured, he would have performed better. He was doing better, but it was the injuries. So I think they're going to either keep him through that, or maybe they'll say to put him on limited IR and then see how it plays out with Cotton and Wynn, and then they can bring him back, or maybe even whatever. I think this is like an excuse wrapped up with a bow to keep Eichenberg, because we've gone over the numbers. You got Tehran, you got Connor, you got Wynn, you got Hunt, you got Jackson. That's 5. So we normally keep 9. So there's 3 more guys. And I just don't, Feeney, that's 6. So then you got 2 more spots from what we normally keep. Now, if we keep 9, it's a little bit less interesting. But you're going to have to choose between Eichenberg, Jones, Cotton, and Lamb. And you need a guy to play that tackle spot. So I think Lamb's in there. So to me, that's like 7. And so you got 1 more spot, and it's Eichenberg, Cotton, or Jones. Unless we go to 9, it will be very, very interesting. Okay, so now, like I said, I heard the other day that we didn't have a good edge depth group, that we were not deep on the edge. And I totally disagree on that. But you'll see here, Howard said Van Ginkel is starting to make more and more plays inside and out. And Howard's like, wherever VG plays, wherever he plays, he makes plays. And Van Ginkel is a guy, when you bring him outside, you're going to get the ability to contain that run. Sometimes I miss a tackle, but he'll blitz. He'll be all out. He'll play dog. Coverage is the only thing he needs to work on. And he had a couple of good plays today in coverage. And so, to me, Van Ginkel, and you can see over here with Phillips, Von Miller, this quote right here, Bills edge rusher Von Miller praises Jalen Phillips. It's just a matter of time before he blows up. Now, I don't usually promote things. I feel like sticky about doing it. But I did a Jalen Phillips film study from last year, One Step Away from Greatness. And if you haven't checked it out, I would say definitely check it out. It's one of my most proud pieces of work here, covering the entire season. I think this kid's poised for greatness. Von thinks so as well. This kid has been a beast in this preseason. Travis Wingfield, Jalen Phillips has been utterly unblockable today. Defense has been shutting things down in a similar fashion to their big days at Dolphins camp. Coverage is sound. QB has to scan, and by the time he does, it's a rusher in his face. This defense, that's why I said this Texans eval on the defense, it is what it is. It's very minor. And this defense is going to be good. To me, it is about the offense of the Dolphins versus the Texans D. But Phillips is showing his ability to stop the run and then get after the quarterback. And if he stops the run and he's not pulled out in red zone or short rundowns, then this guy is going to see his numbers and production rise. It is about his run stop ability. It doesn't have to be Jason Taylor or but he has to be good enough that he's not shuttled out for somebody else. And it looks like he's heading in an unbelievable direction. Now, one last part about the D. The one part I am seeing that I would say the value is the Texans tight ends were giving us a little problems today in coverage from maybe probably our linebackers and stuff. So they were getting off a little bit. And that's going to be critical for us because the Patriots are going to be running with their tight ends. Bills are going to be running with their tight ends. Jets not so much, but maybe we'll see what they're doing over there. I don't know about the new system and what they're installing. So this is the one part about the defense and the injury aspect is all I'm concerned about. I know it was a talk to ended practice with the pick six, but guys, he had his nice little touchdown or a 40-yard play to Smythe. He had his 2 touchdowns. If you've ever played and you're in practice, this is your chance to test and try and experiment. And he said, I was trying to look the guy off. So he's got to, this is your place to test. Not against, in practice against somebody, your own players. It's different when it's against other guys that don't know your tendencies and who you are. And so too, if you look at Dan Marino, this guy would throw so many picks. It was unbelievable in preseason games and whatever. He was testing himself. Now, if that testing becomes sloppy nature, that becomes a problem. But guys, let's not get all tied up into this through a pick or whatever. So that's really the whole day. I think it was a very good day for evaluation for us. There's some things I'm keeping my eye on. I'm going to be talking about Cotton a lot more because my man Tehran says he's good. So let's hope my man Tehran is right on Isaiah and Cotton. Let's hope my man Tehran gets back soon. And let's keep our eyes eagle-eyed on tomorrow because these 2 practices really will help us out a lot. All right, so anyway, guys, that's it. Catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.